Now, you see the bulk compressor. The type is FX161751. You see the capture is the spare parts for this compressor. Now, we will explain about node and inspection point for disassembling of this. The tools are like that for this compressor. Before disassembling, pumping down should be done. After that, it should be checked impurity from the suction filter. When you pull out suction valve, it's very important for bulk compressor to prevent impurity in liquid. Pull out the discharge valve. Before capacitor solenoid coil is taken out, the coil power should be checked. Next step is, we'll pull out the head cover. When cover is open, it should be checked impurity and whether valve plate damaged or not. Impurity of the solenoid block as well. Pull out the valve plate. When you take out valve plate, you should check the reed condition and tight condition of reed bolts. At the same time, check gasket, piston head, and liner condition as well. Next, we are going to take out shaft seal. First of all, pull out shaft seal. When you do it, you should be careful to take it out considering elasticity, and when you take out the cover, it should be checked such as gasket, carbon ring, and O-ring. Lastly, check spring condition. Next, we are going to dismantle oil pump. Firstly, oil pump bolts are taken out, then oil pump complete is dismantled. Check the gasket and gear pump should be turned smoothly by hand turning, and check the impurity as well. Next, we dismantle the lower part of cover. Remove bolts and open the cover. You should check impurity of the oil chamber and oil suction filter. Check damage, impurity of the inside of compressor block. Next, we are going to dismantle connecting rod. Before taking out the half bearing, you should mark every connecting rod by sequence. The reason is, if the sequence is different after connection, it will not be able to turn the crankshaft. And after dismantle half bearing, you should check scratch of the shaft or half bearing. Dismantle the front bearing cover. After taking out bolts, you can dismantle cover by star bolt hole, which is processed both sides. You should check inside of the main bearing whether it's damaged and scratched or not. Next, we are going to pull out the real bearing. You should check inside of bearing whether it's damaged or not, and also it should be checked whether gasket is attached. Shaft is taken out from the block. Should be careful when shaft is taken out to avoid damage of the connecting rod from inside a block, and it should be inspected main bearing, rear bearing, connecting rod, and overhaul after taking out shaft. Next, we will take out piston ring. First of all, check piston ring, moving connection, and wearing condition, then remove the ring. After that, disassemble piston complete as follow mark order. At the same time, it should be checked scratch or wear from the piston pin, liner, and connecting rod. After checking all of items, you should replace damaged parts as follow part list. Piston and connecting rod complete are assembled as follow marked order to block. When you assemble shaft into the block, you should be careful piston and connecting rod which have been already assembled. And assemble rear bearing of the oil pump when it's assembled. Oil hole and bolt hole should be matched, and be careful the gasket. Next, assemble oil pump oil hole and bolt hole and key and groove of the shaft should be matched when it's assembled, you should check top mark of the cover, then bolt is tightened by torque 34 Newton meters. Assemble the main bearing. When you assemble it, you should check the top mark of the cover. Tighten bolt torque. Range is 60 Newton meters. Assemble piston ring. Top mark is mentioned on the piston ring to upper side, then assemble. When you assemble it, be careful ring damage or avoid scratch of the piston head. When you assemble rings to liner, the open part of the piston ring should be all different position as you see. Next, assemble half bearing. It should be done as follow mark order with the connecting rod set. At the same time, you turn the crankshaft and tighten bolt torque is 29 Newton meter. Then assemble lower cover. Check the assembling condition of oil heater and oil suction filter. At the same time, check impurity from it. Assemble the shaft seal. After check the groove of spring, assembling should be done carbon ring as well. Assemble the seal cover. Note the top marking of the cover, then tighten by torque 34 Newton meters. And assemble valve plate. After removing purity and checking the gasket condition, after that, it's assembled by capacity part. At the same time, it should be checked reed condition, such as reed damage, tight of the reed fixing bolt. Head cover also should be tightened by capacity part. Bolt torque is 60 Newton meters. And then capacity solenoid coil is assembled the same as disassembling. Power supply should be checked to prevent coil damage. Lastly, filter mesh is cleaned of the suction filter, then assembled suction valve and discharge valve. Bolt torque is discharged 90 Newton meters and suction 220 Newton meters.